Social Studies students. This is Mr. Xiao, and today I want to talk about SRQ question 7, the last essay in Social Studies exam. And specifically, we are going to do the question 7 for chapter 6, which is experiences and effects of living in a diverse society. So before I begin, you should have this question 7 worksheet with you. You should also have your question 7 essay notes with you, specifically for issue 2, living in a diverse society. And you can flip to the part on chapter 6, experiences and effects of diversity. This should be page 5. And the other thing you want to have with you is your social studies textbook, course book, where you can flip to page 146. And this will be the start of the chapter on living in a diverse society, the experiences and effects of diversity. At any point, if you need to speed up, slow down, or pause this video to suit your learning pace, you may do so. So let's return to the worksheet on question 7, and let's do a quick recap on maybe on the experiences and effects of living in a diverse society. We said that experiences, right, refer to the interactions between diverse groups, and we said that diversity in issue 2 of social studies refers to differences in race and ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status, and nationality. And keep this in mind because what we have learned from chapter 5 about the different factors shaping identity and the different factors leading to a diverse society, what we learned in chapter 5, all these understandings come back to shape our learning in chapter 6, which is the experiences and effects of living in a diverse society. So the experiences of living in a diverse society mean that you interact between diverse groups. So for instance, if I'm a Chinese person and I interact with a Malay person, that is one example of an interaction between a diverse group. And that is my experience. And where do I interact with this person? For instance, if I make a friend who's Malay Muslim in school, right, the school is the place in which I have this interaction, and we call that common space. And this common space could be physical in the sense that it's literally some place I walk to, I sit down and I meet the person. It could be the HDB void deck, where we said that the void deck hosts different ethnic groups' practices. It could be a Malay wedding, it could be a Chinese funeral, or it could also be a digital online space. So it could be, for example, on a server, on a gaming server, a Discord server, where you meet people of different nationalities, or you make friends and you play with gamers from the Philippines or so on. So maybe gaming Discord for servers, gamers from other countries. So these are all examples of common spaces. And in common spaces, we have interactions between diverse groups. And what about these interactions? Are they good or are they bad? Are they beneficial or are they harmful? Do they have a positive or negative impact? Well, that goes to the effects of diversity. And first, we have the positive. And we said this was exchange of culture. That's one. Exchange of knowledge and skills. That's another. And then we have the negative. And for negative, we have prejudice and discrimination. That's one. And then we also have xenophobia because of the perceived competition for resources. and that's another, right? And so prejudice and discrimination would mean that I have a negative view, a negative belief, a negative behavior towards a member of another group. And competition for resources refers to the idea that I think that people coming into my country, foreigners, they're coming and they're stealing my job, they're taking my housing, they're making everything so expensive, they're taking up space on public transport. So there's this perceived uh, idea that, well, if they're coming to my country, they must be snatching my things, which we learn in the chapter that is not true, because when we allow foreigners to come into Singapore, or when we have a attitude of openness towards foreigners, we in fact expand the pie, we increase the business and the opportunities available for the country, and in fact being open to a foreign workforce supports us in many ways. Firstly, by creating a skilled pool of labor and workers that will attract more businesses to invest in Singapore. That's one. And another thing is that given our aging population, we do need a steady supply of workers in certain sectors, such as the healthcare sector. Like we need foreign nurses to staff the hospitals that will then take care of our parents and grandparents in an aging society. So there are many, in some sense, invisible benefits of having an open policy, open view, open-mindedness attitude towards people from other countries to come and contribute to our country. And yet, because these contributions and benefits are often invisible to us at the moment, we might only see perhaps the downside, that there is some sort of competition, and that gives rise to the feeling of resentment towards foreigners, and we said this was xenophobia. So, therefore, there are two sides to living in a diverse society. There are the positive benefits in terms of the exchange of culture and knowledge and skills, the fusion products that we get to enjoy, the nasi lemak burger. And yet there are also negative impacts of living in a diverse society, such as some people holding prejudiced views that lead to discriminatory behavior towards other groups, and the perceived competition for resources. And if you have followed me to this point, please do take down some of these notes on your chapter as well. Why? Because the act of writing is tactile learning. As you write and you think and you reflect, you take what I say in this video and you put it on your worksheet, and you also put it in your brain, and that becomes your knowledge to deploy in the future. All right, so that's my spiel for taking notes in the old-fashioned way. And let's proceed. We recap. The question 7 essay is a weighing essay. We need to have the factor, identify the focus or focuses. And later on, in fact, there will be a question in this particular worksheet that will have multiple foci. So remember, we say it's either 2 factor to 1 focus or 1 factor to 2 foci. And we will see that. We need to craft the Peel argument. You are no stranger to Peel. It is point, elaboration, explanation, link. And then finally, we will weigh the arguments, because this is a weighing essay for G3 Social Studies. And I have done a sample for you at the back of this sheet as usual. All right. I wanted to open and model and demonstrate and discuss using an actual authentic national exam question. And it just so happens that for this chapter, we have the 2017 O-level paper. The question from 2017 is, how far do you agree that the positive impact of living in a diverse society is more significant than the negative impact? Please think about this question for a moment without looking at what I have done in the worksheet. Can you just pause and think about how you would tackle this question? And one way to do so is to highlight the factor, highlight the focus, and maybe start jotting down a bullet point for each factor on the example you would pick and the possible explanation you would deploy. And I hope you have done that. So I'll analyze the question. How far do you agree that the positive impact of living in a diverse society is more significant than the negative impact? In this case, it's a two-factor, one-focus question. Two-factor, one focus. The two factors are positive impact, negative impact, and the focus is living in a diverse society. So I want to know what is the positive impact of living in a diverse society. I want to know what is the negative impact of living in a diverse society. And so I craft my first PU argument on the positive impact. The positive impact of living in a diverse society is significant. Well, okay, great. So what are some good things about living in a diverse society? And in fact, it is here. In fact, it is here. Which is why I hope you took down some of these notes because you can easily reach out for these ideas. So in this case, we talk about, well, there is cultural exchange, appreciation, and fusion in foods, fashion, and music. Um, Great. So that is something good. What is an example that highlights this exchange and this fusion? I wanted to introduce this to you. It appeared on my social media feed. So I I came across this article from social media called Step Aside Prata. This bakery serves chicken curry with a giant croissant. And it says the XXL pastry is made with French butter, so that's the croissant. The French butter, while lemak curry is cooked Nonya style, and that's the chicken curry, right? Ooh la la. So so this bakery, RB Bakery, which is a halal bake shop, and it's mixing the Nonya style of curry with the French pastry that is the croissant. And this is located in Bukit Gombak and at Lucky Plaza. And and it looks really good. Uh, and it looks good partly because it has taken the best features of different cultures and mixed them together into one sort of product presented to you. And this is an element of cultural fusion. Fusion. And so how is it possible that we get all these great practices and delicacies mixed together? It's possible because our society is diverse, that we have different traditions, and cultures to tap on, to bring together, to mix up into something even better, something that is appealing, always a fresh taste and a fresh look. And so, how do I explain that? So, I go with the example here. It's literally as I was writing this worksheet, I saw the article, and so it was perfect timing. So, for example, the halal bake shop, Bakery, serves Nonya style chicken curry that has lemak gravy along a giant croissant made with French butter. So there's a mix between the Nonya style and the French pastry, right? That is a cultural fusion, and as a result, the diversity of cultural products will lead to everyone feeling like, oh, it's such a good idea that we have different ideas, different traditions present in society. And in fact, your croissant is so good, my curry is so good, that creates mutual respect and appreciation. Oh, I really respect your French style butter that makes such a great croissant. Oh, I really admire how you create this smooth, this subtle taste in the Nonya curry, right? And so I really like you, and your culture and your food, and that creates harmony. The best way to create world peace is through good food. Okay, no, maybe not. That's a joke. And furthermore, in order for us to have created this Nonya curry and croissant dish, right? We had to first learn from them. And I was reading in this article, in fact, the chef at this let me see. So the chef at this place is called Zewei. And I was reading somewhere that, in fact, he had learned it. He had learned his French style in hmm. Here. I found it. Here. The baker worked with popular brands like Swiss Bake for 20 years before launching his own shop in 2021. So the point here being that um there was an element of cultural exchange. In order for Zewei to have come up with this sumptuous looking dish, he had already learned from the this Swiss bread brand on how to make European delicacies, European pastries, right? So cultural exchange creates something better, and we want to learn from other cultures good practices in order to enhance our own craft. And that is really a pleasure and a benefit of diversity. And the sub sub point I want to make here is always read about current affairs, because all these little mini elements of what you read about what goes on in the world and in Singapore become your knowledge to deploy in a social studies essay, as you have realized from our June holiday reading as well. So let's go back to our essay. And so we have opportunities to interact with people from different cultures. Clearly, Zewei here has gone on to learn from his Swiss bake line of work, and he creates fusions that creates new products that increase lifestyle options, and gives us even better delicacies. And what does it do? It attracts more tourists to the country. It makes us have more things to consume. So, in fact, there are two explanatory pathways here. You could go further to say that by having more lifestyle options, Singaporean consumers will feel happy and delighted to enjoy greater variety of foods and festivals, and that makes our lives better. So that is a positive impact, that's a benefit. So you could target the explanation here on Singaporean consumers and our lifestyle choices. That's one further deeper explanatory pathway. The other deeper explanatory pathway you could go is that by having more options through cultural fusion, more tourists want to come to Singapore. This enhances Singapore's reputation as a place of diversity with great options to try different things. Increases the flow of tourists coming in, which enhances the business operation, gives a boost to our economy, and creates more jobs and more incomes all around. And that is another positive impact of living in a diverse society. And so, simply from the second explanation I created, there were two further deeper explanatory pathways. I hope you saw that. One on Singaporeans' choices, more choices to enjoy life. One on tourists, more tourists want to come to taste all the different foods and fusions here, which increases our economic development. You could draw two arrows here. Singapore lifestyle choices, that's one. Tourists come to boost economy, that's two. More Singaporean lifestyle choices, more tourists to boost economy. Because this is the sort of deeper thinking that you want to deploy in order to craft strong explanations in your essays, right? For social studies, it's about critical thinking. I will not give you model answers per se that you can memorize. Instead, it's all about how you respond to the question with your thinking and your knowledge that you glean from the different things that you have read throughout the year, throughout your years here with us in secondary school. Okay. And that's done for positive. Uh, As usual, I recommend you pause the video and try the negative on your own um, before I go through. And so the negative impact of living in a diverse society is significant. What is this negative impact? In this case, what perhaps stands out very clearly is prejudice and discrimination. We have seen multiple examples in our lessons of prejudice and discrimination, from the Polytechnic lecturer that made remarks about the interracial couple, and that's in your textbook. Um, so this example about the Polytechnic lecturer you will find on page 168. So you could try crafting out this example here. The other example is the gong lady that we watched the video for. Let me just for simplicity, let me refer to the notes. And here we have both the lecturer and the gong lady. Okay, perhaps I'll go with the lecturer because it's in the textbook. You can also use the gong lady's example. This is a bit of both ethnicity and religion here. It's up to you. So we have the polytechnic lecturer that accused the Indian man of preying on a Chinese girl. So as a result, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with the lecturer coming in to make such claims? We can refer to our notes, right? When you make hurtful remarks, there's discrimination. Victims feel unhappy. There could be anger and conflicts. There could be social tensions, and that would destroy harmony and harm all Singaporeans. Okay, great. So we have two different types of explanations that we can tap on. One on the individuals and two on society. Let's try that. So over here, as a result, the victims of the polytechnic lecturers unfair tirade would feel hurt, angry, and ostracized. Thus prejudice, remarks, and discriminatory behavior thus creates ill feelings between different groups in a diverse society. So it's about the hurt, the anger, the ostracism, and furthermore, suspicions and tensions between different ethnic or religious groups could lead to conflicts and disorder. These conflicts would undermine social peace and lead to a sense of insecurity and fear among many. So if you have suspicion and tension, imagine elements of racism, imagine elements of religious provocations. There will be conflict and disorder. So there's no social peace. Instead there will be insecurity and fear. It's not how you want to live life, right? Thinking that, oh, if I were to go out on online spaces or in physical spaces, I could be attacked, I could be threatened, people are fighting each other, and that truly would destroy the way we want to live life. In fact, what we have now, this social harmony, this social peace is built, it's fragile. Racial Harmony Day is coming. We'll find out more about this from President Tharman Shanmugaratnam's remarks about active multiculturalism and what he means in active multiculturalism. Find out more in the CCE lesson forthcoming. Is that we do have to work hard for the social harmony we presently enjoy. Each of us plays a part in preserving and enhancing social harmony because it's not something that happens naturally. In a diverse society, effects cut both ways, right? And we want to accentuate the positive benefits and mitigate the negative harms. And so I've explained here how living in a diverse society could allow for instances of prejudice and discrimination, such as the Chinese polytechnic lecturer who confronted this interracial couple, and therefore these confrontations, these episodes would lead the victims to feel hurt, angry, and ostracized. These feelings are terrible to have. And furthermore, on the social level, beyond the individual victims, on the social level, there would be tensions, there would be fear, there would be insecurity, and that's not how we want to live. And I have therefore illustrated both the positive and negative impacts. Let's go to the weighing. And so for weighing, recap that we have two pathways. We could go with stronger factor, or we could go with balanced conclusion. And I will just remark briefly on both. For stronger factor, after I've done P1 on the positive impact of living in a diverse society, and P2 on the negative impact of living in a diverse society, I want to talk about which factor is stronger. I want to weigh, and I will say one of them is stronger. And so I will come up with a stand and then a criterion. A stand is which one is stronger in the end. The criterion is why. Why do I say this is stronger in the end? And then I strengthen the one I say is stronger. I strengthen A and I weaken B. And so broadly speaking, that's how I approach the weighing paragraph for this question. In this case, I would like to go with the positive. I am an optimist in this case. I think that ultimately diversity indeed is our strength. And so how do I argue that? So I go with the stand. The positive impact is more significant. So can you all highlight and annotate with me at the side? This is my stand. Because, and this one you can try your own argument. In fact, I was tinkering with an argument along the lines of society knows what to do. Like people in a mature society would know how to respond in diversity, would know how to behave themselves, would appreciate each other, and this appreciation would overcome the prejudice. Like you could try this argument. I was typing it out halfway. I was thinking, people in a mature society, after appreciating each other, sort of like, in school, we see during the Ramadan period, Ramadan, the holy month for the Muslims, we see our Muslim friends who are fasting from dawn to dusk, and we have appreciation and respect towards them. For example, we might avoid eating or drinking so noisily in front of them. Instead, we will respect they are having this disciplined period of fasting. So I do see that. And that is a possible argument. In this case, I typed out an argument about the government. But do think about how you could have alternative handles to approach this weighing. So in this case, I went with the government. I felt that, well, in fact, our government is pretty clear on this, right? In Singapore, it is a crime to be racist. It is a crime to be racist. That polytechnic lecturer got fined, right? He got prosecuted, he got fined, and you are not going to be the second example because you saw what happened to the guy. So there's a deterrent effect. So in this case, the criterion here I looked at was government policies. So what do I say? Well, the government can subsidize and sponsor ethnic festivals, right? You see, the government is always the Ministry of Culture is always Culture, Community and Youth. I think this is MCCY. So the Ministry of Culture, Community and Youth is always coming out with these grants, government money, government subsidy to give different cultural groups a space, a platform to showcase their strengths and let everyone appreciate. So this really amplifies the benefits of the cultural diversity. So everyone partakes and there's appreciation, right? The barrier to entry is low because the government is doling out some resources. On the other hand, what about the negative? Well, let's stop that through laws because we have stern consequences. The very polytechnic lecturer we were talking about in the example, you could bring him out again for the weighing. You could say, well, because that polytechnic lecturer was caught on camera being racist, he was punished, he was prosecuted, he was fined, he was fired, right? He lost his job. It shows that our society and our government has zero tolerance for racism, for any remarks or behavior that incites ill will between racial, ethnic, religious communities. You wouldn't want to be the next example. So there's a deterrent effect. Deterrent meaning that you see something happen to the first guy that did it, you're not going to be the second one, right? You're scared of breaking this law. There's a deterrent effect. And so, in some sense, we send off the negative parts. So, through government action, subsidies can blast out the positive good stuff. Laws can send off the negative bad stuff. And on balance, therefore, the positives will be bigger than the negatives of living in a diverse society. And that's the argument. You could also go for the balanced conclusion. You could also go for the balanced conclusion. How do we do that? The balanced conclusion. Oh, sorry, before that, so this is strengthen A and this weaken B. So I think the first one, stronger factor approach, is clear. Right? Stand, criterion, strengthen A, weaken B. Please annotate, please annotate. And then for this balanced conclusion, it's stand, criteria, and you talk about the interdependence. Why both are equally important. So first I go with the stand, equally significant. Well, there's both positive and negative. And why? Why do I say that? Because in the end, human beings will be human beings. We can't control human beings. We all have our own freedoms to behave as we like and face the consequences thereafter. I repeat, in some sense, humans are born free to behave as we like and face the consequences. And therefore, interactions in a diverse society are multifaceted, right? No one can be reduced to a box. We all behave in our own way. On one hand, because there are different ethnic and religious practices that will naturally create fusion food products, there's cross-cultural pollination and consumption. But at the same time, there are people who will form prejudiced views, right? Instead of doing the good things, they do the lousy and unnecessary things. They may have this prejudice, this discriminatory behavior. So on one hand, you look at a different culture, you're like, hey, it's so nice. There's a festival, there's a mooncake, there's a pongal, there's different keropok, and I can enjoy that. On the other hand, you might say, hey, so terrible. What's this mooncake? What's this dumpling? Why you throw rice in the river? That's so wasteful. Right? People always have different ways of reacting. You can't really control that. The dumpling in the river is a reference to the Dragon Boat Festival, right? So so people can react positively, can react negatively, and a diverse society naturally allows for both sort of outcomes to come out. It's natural, and so in some sense, we just have to live in a society, in a world where we accept that some things are good and some things not so good. So equally significant. And that is another way to approach this weighing. And with this, Sec 3 Social Studies students, I have finished looking at one essay question for Chapter 6, Question 7, Chapter 6. What you will do, you will copy the whole essay for 7A on Foolscap. After doing the worksheet and highlighting the notes, you will copy this whole 7A on Foolscap. And for this chapter, I would like you to try doing every question. So again, analyze every question for factor and focus. Perhaps you try to pause the video. Maybe I'll go through all the factors and foci and I'll analyze for you. But pause the video and try on your own. So 7B is the interesting one. In your opinion, do interactions between different groups in a diverse society tend to be more positive or more negative? This is one factor to focus. The factor is interactions between different groups in a diverse society. Right? Focus, positive or negative. So one factor to focus. So the first Q is interactions are positive. The second Q is interactions are negative. This one, do you think that exchange of culture plays a larger role than exchange of skills in cultivating an appreciation of diversity? Standard, factor 1. Factor 2. Do annotate this, by the way. Maybe I'll do it for you. So do annotate this as I analyze this for you, so it's clear. Cultivating an appreciation for diversity. That is focus. Yeah. The last question. Do you agree that prejudice and misconceptions pose a greater challenge than the competition for resources to social harmony? So this one is a bit disjointed. This is factor 1. This is factor 2. What I mean by disjointed is that the focus is here. Challenge to social harmony. So the focus is actually here. It's in 2 parts in the question. And how does that work? So I would argue in this question 7D, prejudice and misconceptions pose a challenge to social harmony. Describe prejudice and misconceptions. Give an example of prejudice and misconceptions. You could use back the example we have here, right? It's pretty standard. And then I would then explain, as a result, how does that damage and destroy social harmony. Similarly, competition for resources. What is it? Describe it. Give an example of the xenophobia or the fears that Singaporeans have towards foreigners, and then explain how does that damage social harmony. All right, with that, I'm done with the video. I'm done with the video lesson. I wish you a fruitful learning ahead. Please complete the whole worksheet and do 7A, B, C, D on foolscap. And 7A, you do have to copy one of the 2 weighing paragraphs to recap and familiarize yourself with the technique, so you always have this in your back pocket as a technique that you can deploy if you would like to do so for an exam. That's it. Thank you and have a good day ahead.